All right, y'all, here we go. Good evening and welcome to episode 163 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene here in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week, we'll have a short and sweet episode with a new topic and new special guest. I'm Christian Dallas Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans, and this episode we're going in the pits with Jacob Miller, captain of OKC Mutiny and winners of the USXBL 2025 series in Division 4. Jacob, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing great. I see that you're in the car there, and it seems quite a bit lighter outside than it is here in Texas. Could you tell us where you're at?
Yeah, so we are stuck in traffic headed to Dub C. We just left LA, and a 39-mile drive is going to take us 2.5 hours. So we are just chilling in the car.
All right. Yeah. Sounds like Austin traffic to me. So, yeah, I mean, geez, turning around after this past weekend's performance, doing it with only 6 guys as well. And now you're in California getting ready to do it all again.
Yeah, we're going to be playing Dub C with 5. So we're going to test it a little further.
Jeez. Oh, man. Y'all are troopers, true competitors out there. I'd love to see it. And hopefully y'all can keep the success train rolling here this upcoming weekend.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and get started. This one's brought to us by XTPL Events. So for those listening that maybe don't know about you, how long have you been involved in the tournament paintball scene?
So competitively, I've probably been playing 8 or 9 years. At the beginning, it was just, I wouldn't say competitive, but, it was more like just going out there and basically getting my butt kicked by all the other players. And then probably within the last 6 to 7 years, it's been pretty deep in the competitive scene.
All right. Yeah. I in doing my research here on PB Leagues before the episode, it looked like you hit the ground running really in, like, I guess 2017 was the main year that you just really started going. And since then, it's been just nonstop. It seems like there's barely any gap between any of these events that you're playing, with the exception of 2020. And so, what teams have you played for over the years?
Oh man, so I've played for, it's more probably a shorter list of who I have not played for. My main team, obviously OKC Mutiny, was created in 2024 after a split up with another team. I play a lot with Veteran Militia, Kilo, and Zulu. We play a lot with Veteran Militia. Kansas City Sports Complex. That was a new thing this year. They needed some help in the D3 tournament scene, and I was available and I was able to help out there. So I play with them for NXLs. I'm trying to think who else. Man, there's just so many.
Yeah, I see. And let me help you out here.
Yeah,
because I know that there's a ton of events there. So I see you've got an event with over at the Mid-American X-Ball League this year.
Rejects,
with the Rejects. And then last year, it looks like you had a couple Texas teams on your list between Outlaws Destruction Crew, ODK, at the World Cup, as well as Cold Blooded at the USXBL in that pretty much whole series. And then even a stint with one event with Austin Notorious in the XTPL.
Yep. I mean, I forgot about some of those, but yeah, I mean, you're reading it and it's a little easier for you to name those off than I am. I know I have a lot of jerseys, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And it dates all the way back to, it looks like 2016 with your first team, Oklahoma Reflex. And then, just pushing on through a lot of involvement with Veteran Militia, which we're definitely going to talk about here in a little bit. So tell us, what was it that got you into paintball to begin with?
Really, whenever I was little, there was a local guy named Tanner Sadler. He lived right across the creek from me, essentially. And, I from knowing him and him being a player, he really got me pulled into it.
All right, cool. When you say he got you pulled into it, like what kind of things was he doing, either with you, for you, to help kind of plant the seed?
I mean, he was a little older than I was, so it was kind of one of those deals where you kind of looked up to him, and it was something cool. Hey, I get to shoot a projectile, and things don't necessarily pass away whenever you shoot them. So it was like something you could do in your backyard all the time. And then, he was a pretty good, cool guy. He's since passed away, unfortunately. But just being around him and just seeing the markers that he had, and that was back in the Angel Day and all that stuff. So it was really cool stuff. And just that's what got me pulled in probably the most.
All right, I love it. Looking here in the chat, you got a couple of fans here. You got Chris Kurtz says, Jacob better thank me for keeping him tuned up. Um, and then we've also got, let's see, also Chris Kurtz says 75 hard got him fit. Yeah, tell us more about what that means.
So the David Goggins, or I think it's David Goggins, the 75-day hard challenge, where you basically go to the gym twice a day. You have a diet, you have to eat, you have to read every day. It's just basically creating a new lifestyle. And basically, in 75 days, you're creating a new you. Me and a teammate, Thomas, Jacob Thomas, my snake player for OKC Mutiny, we both did it, kind of an accountability partner. Since we've stopped going to the gym, or stopped doing the 75-day hard, we still go to the gym every single day. We still take in our water. We still, try to eat right. Obviously, it's hard whenever you travel so much, but it really kicked my butt into gear, that's for sure.
All righty. So this one's brought to us by the San Antonio 3v3 series. So what are some things that you've noticed that have changed within tournament paintball, either for better or for worse, since you started getting involved?
Mm. Uh, Man. So for better, I feel like there's more vendors now. From whenever I first started to, currently at the local level. Obviously, NXLs have always kind of been there, but with the USXBL, and having all those vendors, I think that's really good for growing the sport, because beforehand, if you brought your family and friends out, they, but now they actually get to see merch and different organizations and what they sell. And I know my wife personally loves it because she gets to spend money and buy something new every single time she sees it. But I think that really has helped for everybody, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been cool to see all of the different people in the community that are selling things from. You've got like Mark Johnson's restaurant, Plano Tortilla Factory. Got
Mm.
XXV, the label. Some of these other small ones like Uno's Jerky, the stuffed salsa, like
The lemonade, you
oh yeah,
can't forget the lemonade.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think the
baked with
food
love.
vendors
Shout out to them. They are
especially.
always taking care of me.
Yeah, for sure. I think the food vendors especially have stepped it up this the past 2 years. I know
Yeah.
one of my friends over in Louisiana, Seth Dolan, who owns the Royal Cheesecake. He has been at events in previous years, hasn't shown up lately. This is my somewhat regular plug to mention at Seth Dolan. Please come back. We want your cheesecakes at these events, or at least I do. And I promise I will spend my money. So yeah, I absolutely agree. The vendors over at the USXBL, just how many of them have popped up, especially within the last 3 years,
Yeah.
it does a lot to change the atmosphere of the tournament when it, instead of just everybody camping out watching games, you've got more of like a actual event, and not just on the field but off the field too.
Correct. It's not just business, it's not just work whenever you're there. There is still a little bit of play there, and it's just better for the family environment.
Absolutely. This one's brought to us by the Splat Zone Trinity 3-man series. So you play a ton of paintball. You average lately either like around 17 or 18 events a season. I think last year you ended up playing something crazy like 22 events, which I'm sure between entry, paint, and most of all travel is not cheap. So how do you make it work?
Just a very good support structure. practices, trying to keep practices as cheap as possible so I can, allocate money there. Luckily, I have a pretty good job. My boss tends to be pretty cool with me, just dipping out and taking off. Um, and then, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, my wife thinks I'm crazy, but she supports it, and it makes it a little easier.
Alrighty. Do you have any sponsors that are helping you out with any of your costs in any of these events?
As far as a financial cost now,
All right.
but we have like Carbon, who hooks us up with
Mm.
gear and everything else like that, but that's not, from the cost aspect of it. But then again, if you don't have gear to play in, it makes playing very hard. So they do a phenomenal job of making sure that we stay in the best gear possible.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure with 22 events in a year that you're probably going through a couple sets of pants, pads, probably even packs, maybe even a goggle or two throughout the season. So all of that adds up.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. And if we can make it as reasonable as possible in order to acquire those, that helps everybody.
Absolutely. First, I want to say welcome to everybody that's here in the chat. If you have any questions for Jacob, please get them in. We'll get to them throughout the show. So this one's brought to us by BEMRAP. Speaking of vendors, another local Texas guy. So you play the NXL, Kansas EXL, the USXBL. You've played an event over at the Max Series, XTPL. You've played MVPS. You're even in California right now, about to turn around and play the WCPPL event this weekend. So, what differences have you seen between the different regions compared to the USXBL?
USXBO, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's almost like a miniature national series with the way that it's presented. And something that the USXBL does really good is the Saturday Sunday play. Most of these other local events, they don't do that. It's all 1 day event. And I mean, I think that's probably one of the cooler parts of it. I'm trying to think what else is really different in between them. Obviously, this is the
About
first time I'm going to Dub C, but I'm sure it's going to be ran pretty much the same, obviously.
right.
But
Yeah. How about the size of the event? How does that compare?
uh, whenever I played in Florida, the MSXL, I believe that's what it was, or MVPS, there was quite a few teams out there. But as far as competition wise, I would say USXBL has more teams that are more top contenders, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we always say that, or at least I try to promote the narrative that the Texas teams usually have a higher skill floor than most of the rest of the country. Whenever you're playing a Texas team, there's going to be a standard that they play to that's probably going to be a bit higher than a team from another part of the U.S. with similar experience.
I mean, yeah, that's what you said. And I know you do say that.
And I do
I,
try to promote that, but you having that actual experience competing in all of these different
yeah.
areas, like, give me either confirm or deny if you don't think that's the case.
I mean, I think this last year, Louisiana has stepped up tremendously and
Mm.
showed everybody like, hey, they're here, to play, Uh, but I mean, yes, Texas teams are good. We all know that Florida teams are good. Yes, we know that California teams are good. But, I think that with OKC Mutiny, we've kind of shown that, like, hey, the small town, paintball team can get it done. Because 95% of the time, all we do is practice ourselves. We don't practice, any heavy hitters. But I think where the difference is, how you practice and how you set up your practices and how you challenge yourself at practices separates good teams from the bad teams, drills and everything else like that. And I feel like a lot of times, these other teams try to come out and just play points, points, points. But it's,
Mm.
if we can rep a slide 50 times and in a match, you might rep it 3 times. You know what I mean? So I'm a firm believer of drills. And, we lose a lot of players because of that, because I'm kind of like the old school. Hey, I would rather shoot, a hopper at a pole versus 3 cases at a person. So I feel like whenever these teams are going to start doing that, that's when they're really going to see the divide of like where the strong camps are versus just geographical of, the Texas region, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that approach. I think Matty Marshall says it best whenever he's comparing how paintball players play to how baseball prepares. Like, are you going to go out and if you're trying to work on your hitting, do you go play 9 innings or do you go into the batting cage?
Yep.
One hopper of paint is going to last you maybe half of a point, or that can be 220 reps doing snap shooting.
Yep, where your shoulders are burning, your arms are burning, the fatigue set in, and then now you've replicated the finals, off of one loader.
Yeah, absolutely. And that approach is going to be what carries your team. I mean, it's shown in the success that you've had this year. I think that approach is going to continue showing success as you begin climbing into these upper division ranks. And here in the chat, we do have Justin Doman from Elite Audio, Video, and Lighting. He says, congratulations on the finish. If you ever want a scrimmage, come on down to Giant Party Sports. I'd love to set something up.
I love those guys. I've been around them, so we will definitely be in contact.
All right. And then from the Coaches Show .live, shout out to Mike Bianca and excuse me, and Ryan Gray. Way to go, Jacob, doing big things for Oklahoma paintball.
Yeah. So Ryan was a pivotal person in my paintball, I want to say career, but couple years that I've been playing, just from going into his shop whenever he had Avid. You just go in there and talk to him for hours, and and he's always there. And you call him, he answers. But he's a very good mentor to have.
Absolutely. All right. So this one is brought to us by Mariachi Aguilas de Oro. So you are heavily involved with the Veteran Militia Program, which offers a place to play alongside other current and inactive service members from all different branches. And you've even gotten to compete in the Commander's Cup with Team Navy back in 2023. So what can you tell us about your experience with Veteran Militia?
Just like any organizations, I've had my ups and downs with it, if I'm being truthful. But what they do is extraordinary. What Chris has created is extraordinary. Obviously, I'm hyper competitive. And some of these guys aren't necessarily as hyper competitive, which I tend to step on toes whenever, you're passionate about something and someone's not. But then I have to look at it from a different light. Like, these guys are coming from a place to connect. They're coming from a place for a brotherhood, a guy that I know, Dennis, part of the Veteran Militia Zulu line, he's kind of opened up the soft side and he wants a hug and everything else like that. And hey, we're family. Hey, we're brothers. And that was something that I wasn't used to. I'm yes, ex-military. Yes, I'm, not the nicest sometimes, but like, then whenever you're around these guys, you can do nothing but smile. If I have a hard day, I can call these guys and they're like, hey, let's talk through it, because veterans in general go through a lot of things that a lot of people don't go through. A lot of these guys have seen some stuff. A lot of these guys have been a part of a lot of stuff. And so it's just a really good place to connect. And I say fellowship loosely, but it's just a good, just be around like-minded, hey, ex-military guys. Hey, we kind of hold the same, badge of honor per se. But what Chris is doing is really great.
Absolutely. And I am glad that you also pointed out, like, viewing it in a different light, viewing it in like, what purpose does this organization serve, which it's a massive organization. I think Chris says that they've got, several hundred, if not several thousand members all across the U.S. Competing on, countless different lines throughout the year in different series. I'm sure that there's a veteran militia community going to scenario events as well. And just having someone there, or like another entry point for not only bringing in new members to the community, but like giving them a place to call home. It is a very unique role that veteran militia is filling there, and it's a very important one too.
Yeah, for 100%. And and there's people everywhere. I got VM guys in Oklahoma, I got VM guys in Florida, Pennsylvania. They're everywhere. So it also makes it to where you can be part of something national, but be connected locally as well,
Mm.
which is really cool. You can go grab a beer with someone, you can go grab a drink with someone, or just go eat dinner with another VM guy. And then, that's kind of what he's creating. He's creating a family inside of an already tight knit family, which is really cool.
I love it. And so for any either current or former service members out there, how can they start participating with veteran militia?
So our biggest thing is Facebook. So if you do the Veteran Militia Facebook group, get on there. You'll put in, what branch you served in, and you'll kind of be vetted that way. And then you get added into this community, and you get first Firewatch, and then you kind of go from there.
All right, love it. From Mario Ducat says, although veteran militia is usually our toughest adversary from Papaletto,
Papaletto.
yes, much respect for their mission as well for their paintball quality.
Yep. We always see Papaletto, D3 5-man. They're a great organization. And yeah, I mean, it's always a fun one to go back and forth with them. Great group, guys.
All right, love it. So this one is brought to us by Colt Roberts and Paintball Kumite. So with all of the events that you play throughout the year, it probably doesn't leave all that much time for drills and just normal practice. So how do you balance your time to make sure you're also keeping fresh on the fundamentals?
So we, as a line, try to drill at least once a week. So, in the summer, we try to hit twice a week, Tuesday, Thursdays. So those don't really run into travel days. So, a lot of times we travel on the Friday or sometimes the Thursday, but usually Friday for the Saturday, Sunday events. And then we're back Sunday night. And then you get Monday to rest, and then we're back in the grind. It's of some sort, you know what I mean?
Alrighty, yeah, just
But it's
taking
all,
advantage of that during the week time as much as you can.
yep, yep,
But
correct.
look at you guys now. It's Wednesday and you're already at Dub C, or you're already in California, just trying to get ready for this weekend. So I'm sure at times the schedule is a lot of back to back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is really the only time that it's kind of really like that for the whole group. Uh, we played two events as a whole line. This is kind of like a one off when we won the an EXL event up in Kansas, and we were like, hey, what do we do with this extra money that we just won? Let's go play Dub C as our kind of our World Cup. Since I've already kind of committed to another line for World Cup
Mm.
since we weren't playing NXLs. But yeah, we do travel a lot.
Gotcha. All right. And speaking of travel, this one's brought to us by Jared Sherman and his
Mm.
website, texandhemp.com. So do you have advice for someone wanting to do more traveling to play paintball in other regions?
Yeah, so obviously, there's a lot of things that come into play there. Age. Are you married? Do you have kids? But for me, I could not do what I do without the support structure I have at home. So my wife, she knows that I love paintball, and she loves paintball for me. She comes out here, and oftentimes she can talk to our D5 guys about, hey, what's going on the field, even though she's never played, just because she's been around it for so long. But the better support structure you have, the easier all of it's going to be, because you don't want to go to an event and then you get the phone call of, hey, you're never home. Hey, you're never doing this. But instead of like, hey, we miss you, go kick butt, come back home to us as soon as possible, that makes it so much easier. Now, if you're younger, you're going to run into the financial issues of, not being maybe as established. Luckily, I own my own company, so it makes it a little easier. Um, but I think the support structure at home is what makes traveling so easy for me personally.
Absolutely.
I hope
And
that
there's so
answers that for Jared.
many, yeah, for sure. And there's so many players out there that have come and gone, you know, potentially leaving before they want to because they don't have everything balanced out at home, or they don't have that support structure, or maybe they aren't as established in their careers. So, like, making sure all of that off the field stuff is situated. Like, paintball is ultimately like a luxury and an extracurricular.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like,
Until
you
you're
have
getting
to have
paid, it's a
everything
hobby.
else. Yeah, you have to have everything else in your life lined up before you can do any sort of like serious traveling. It's like just, and I say this not just from like a competitor's standpoint, but also like just from the human experience. I think you will get so much more out of this experience if you're traveling to these events and you're not worried in the back of your mind, like, oh, well, I'm here at this event. Am I going to have issues making rent? Or,
Or
is,
I only brought $100 for paint. You know,
mhm.
now we're in finals, and I don't know if I have another extra money for paint. Have I run an organization. I have a D5 line. I helped with other organizations, and it's just like, hey, I don't know if I can afford this. And it's just like, you didn't you a lot of people don't know how expensive paintball is until they're in the middle of summer. They've already had two events. They have two more events, and practices aren't stopping. And yeah, you got to have your finances squared away for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So here in the chat, you've got from C Holcomb Fishing underscore PB. Good luck at Dead
Yep.
Sea, fellas. Keep the momentum going.
Yep. So that would be one of the Saints players up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were actually at the USXBL as well.
All righty. I'd love to see it. And then from Bondo says Jay Millie is one of the realest in paintball. Glad to hear this one.
Yep. And I love what he's doing with his brand, man. That was super cool seeing his 10 up the last USXBL. He's killing it.
Absolutely. Shout out Bondo. All right. So throughout your entire paintball career, what's been your favorite moment so far?
So really this year. And because if you look at our roster, yeah, it's small, but you'll notice another Miller on that line. So that's my 17-year-old kid. I got to play, a paintball tournament, a paintball season with my child. And this last event was by far his best event that he has played, and I had to tell him that multiple times. But just playing with your kid is a feeling that is it's hard to explain. Like we did the whole D3 5-man one World Cup. Yeah, that was cool. But something about playing with your child on the same line, looking over, he's protecting you, you're protecting him, and the communication back and forth. That's by far the coolest thing that to date that has probably happened in my life, to be honest with you.
And that's an experience that so few get to play with a family member, let alone a parent-child interaction on the field. Very, very few get to do that. I mean, it's awesome that you get to experience that and also have all of the success in building all of these memories while you're doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
So here in the chat, we got from Mario again. He says, Jacob, any thoughts about the Carbon DVR? Pros and cons.
So I've been using this since last World Cup. Yeah, they've changed a couple things as we go. I pro, I don't have issues. Con, uh, I don't know. I don't have a con for it, to be honest with you. It's super cool that it comes with the speed feed already, the in charge already, basically their version of the in charge. A case, oh, a rain lid, the ramps inside, everything it does is what I needed to do, and I kind of feel like it's too smart for paintball or for me. Like, I don't ever mess with anything. I literally put it on my gun, turn it on, and it's ready to rock and roll. And, it, I don't have any issues.
Yeah, that last part right there, it doesn't have any issues, and you just throw it on, turn it on, good to go. The best ability is availability, and
Hmm.
just having something that is always going to be working is key for paintball, especially for us, like in a sport where any little thing could go wrong, and if any of those little things go wrong, it can have a like very drastic consequence with how short the game times are, with how few points are played throughout a match. Like any single mishap could cost you.
Yeah, I mean, and if our roster depth, if we're running five bodies this weekend, we have five DRVs, and we know that those things are going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you only got 5 guys. If a gun goes down,
We're in trouble.
well, yeah, exactly. So from Bondo, he asked Jay Milley, "What's the future of Oklahoma paintball? I don't think you've given us much spotlight the state deserves, and want to know more about who to look for."
And so Oklahoma paintball is kind of a weird thing. We got three different fields out there. We don't really play each other much. The Tulsa Saints actually came down to do the USXBL prep with us. I think my goal is, for Mutiny to take it to the next level. I feel like, after being in, winning the series, we're ready for D3. I think we're going to come out swinging in D3 and try to start proving people wrong again.
All right, I love it. That's going to be very interesting. I know for you, you're about to be ranked D2. It looks like. Just being able to balance all of that with all of the paintball that you're playing. I don't know if anybody else on that OKC Mutiny roster is in the same boat as you. But
They're
how
not
have you been managing that?
managing my rank.
I guess, yeah.
So my ranks shot up because obviously with the KC Sports Complex that I
Mm.
play with, we just placed second at Lone Star, NXL Lone Star, and we have a couple top 10 finishes that are in there this year. So my ranks kind of shot up there, this year. But next year's, a whole new beast, But luckily, all my guys are going to be ranked D3, and I won't have another D2 body next to me. So it opens up the spot for, another, dedicated body that's high ranking to come in and help us out.
All right, I love it. So here, let's see. Here, also in the chat from Liam Robinson Sanchez says Miller is great for paintball. Invited me out to practice after I moved to the USA with zero gear and limited money. Hooked me up and gave me every opportunity to play here in the US. Legend.
Yep. That's my motto at the field that, I kind of, the field is owned by it's Epic Paintball Park, and he kind of runs the rec side. I run the speedball side. So I provide all the paint. I do all that stuff for everybody. But my philosophy is, if we could keep paintball as cheap as possible for people to practice, that's how we grow the sport locally. Versus the $80 a case and all that other craziness. We keep it, if we keep it cheap, we can grow paintball, and people that came over from the UK, doesn't know anybody, doesn't have very much money. He needed a place to be plugged in. I'm more than happy to ever give anybody a shot like that, because that's how we grow the sport.
Absolutely. Love to hear that. That's something that's going on over there. And then last one in the chat for now from Primo Sparaza, 1975, aka Omar Montoya. Won WCPPL over 10 years ago when I played on 406 Finest, and I can say that league has amazing competition. Lots of good players and teams out there. It's not easy to win out there. Good luck.
Yeah, and is it easy to win anywhere? Which I don't think it is. But I've played in California before. I feel like my guys are ready. I feel like we've proven that we can ball in Texas. So my goal is to go over there and just keep on proving people wrong. You know what I mean? Show them that Oklahoma does know how to paintball. Oklahoma, is a place, and we are there to ball, and we're there to prove people wrong.
I love that approach. I know for Dub C, like the biggest thing that's a challenge is just the number of games that you have to play. It looks like for this one in Division 4, they have 40 teams. So you're probably going to have to be playing like 8 or 9 games in order to go all the way. That's just that's probably the biggest challenge.
I'm sure there's going to be a buy in there somewhere. So that's what our goal is. We got the buy USXBL to push us, give us that rest. And so obviously that's what we're going to try to shoot for here. And that's our best shot. You know what I mean? Otherwise we're going to be tired, but we'll stay locked in too.
For sure. Yeah. All right. So this one's brought to us by 71 Designs. Let's talk about this past weekend. So your team, OKC Mutiny, you took third at the USXBL Championship in Division 4, and you ended up winning the series by 1 point as well. It came down to that final match between y'all and the Houston Zone Kids. Whoever won that third place game won the series. So how did the weekend go for you and your team?
I mean, it obviously went well if we podiumed. It's not it didn't go as well as we wanted. If we rewind a little bit to the semifinals match against Smoke, Smoke's a great team. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot there. We had, I believe, two minors, a penalty that really should have been there that didn't go our way. They got a major in under 60 with last guy alive, and they only started down one body, which I think should have been two. So going in the match, and even though we went to overtime and they won it, absolutely, we should have never been in that position anyway. But I think going into that third and fourth match, knowing that this is for the marbles, so I think we came in pissed, to be honest with you. We came in to kind of like redeem ourselves and say, hey, there's no reason that we should be playing for third and fourth right now. We deserve this. And, the Houston Zone Kids came off a loss too. And I just think that how we dealt with that loss was a little different. And that's what propelled us in that game.
All righty. Yeah, I remember being in that pit, just watching that back and forth match. That semifinal match was a banger set. And yeah, you guys played really well. I know the penalties got a little you had to dive a little bit into the rule book just to make sure everything got situated. So what does it mean for you guys to come out as the series champions after that last event?
Yeah. So you kind of broke up there real quick. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So what does it mean to you and to your team to come out as a series champions after the event?
It obviously felt good. It felt good in our pocketbook too. But for us, it was kind of just I know I keep on saying it that we prove people wrong. And I love that we're on this podcast. Since since from the beginning, no one believed in Oklahoma paintball, and they have a sense of like, hey, we did it. We proved to everybody that we know what we're doing. We proved to everybody that, yeah, even though at the last two events that we did hire a coach, but player coaching is still a thing, and it is successful. And everybody just knows that, hey, we did it. And really, if you watch whenever we placed third, we weren't happy. We were happy, but we didn't celebrate. We didn't do anything. We're all in business. We know that, hey, that's not what we stand for. That's not what we want. On to the next. And so that's what I think why we're all hyped for Dub C, hopefully to come out here swinging and show everybody that, hey, we deserved better than third place.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of hiring the coach, you guys halfway through the season, you decided to pick up Corey Field to help bolster you in the pits, which I think is especially important given the light line that you guys tend to run. So how was it getting to work with him?
So obviously coming from the player coach aspect and having someone else in there, it's a different feeling for me. Everybody else, they have someone to listen to. But for them, it was easy for them to buy into it because as long as I fully believed in what he was saying, they're going to fully believe in what was being said. For me, I picked all personnel, and he came up with the game plan. And I was the one on the box being able to audible and still play, Miller paintball. And he had a really good way of, keeping all the ducks in a row in the pits, because obviously as a player coach with the short line, I'm on the field 90% of the time, 100% of the time, I'm on the field. And if I'm last body alive and I don't know what happened, I have to come in and I have to instantly start calculating, and that kind of just hiring him just took some of that out, took some of the calculations away, saying, hey, this, and this happened because of this, and this. So it helps me understand it more. And then he's already has the next game plan. Hey, they went here, we need to do this. And it just made everything so much smoother.
Yeah, I strongly recommend that any team that's like if you're looking to get more serious into the results and you are cool with the financial commitment that comes with it, like I think that a coach, especially as you get higher and higher into the divisions, is more and more of like a requirement in order to go deep and win some of these events. You just need that extra person that has that view from the sideline that can see really what all is going on. And especially someone like Corey, who has been doing this for quite a long time and can not only make those mid-game adjustments, but potentially even know when to do something a little unorthodox just to create new tempos and take control back of the momentum during a game.
Yeah. So with us bringing in Corey, that wasn't a USXBL play. So us hiring Corey was a next year move. We already knew we're moving up next year. We already knew that, the pieces are going to move a lot faster in D3. You know that, I know that, and those doors kind of start shrinking, like being able to make calculations and seeing stuff. So that's what our play was with Corey, because I didn't want him coming into next year looking at my guys and be like, hey, my name's Corey. What is your name? I wanted to have a basis of, hey, meet the guys, see how everybody plays. So that way next year, whenever it's, whether it's USXBL, WC, NXL, whatever it is, it's just so much more plug and play. So, but yes, I think hiring a coach in D4, D5 is a great thing. But I also want a lot of people to understand that you don't have to go hire a pro coach. You don't have to go hire a semi-pro coach or a semi-pro player. If you find a guy that's usually a 3 or a 2 and a division higher than you or 2 divisions higher than you, he's going to do a pretty good job of like breaking down the field. I personally think that jumping too high, they almost start telling you more information than you can comprehend, and sometimes too much knowledge or a lot of knowledge is just too much knowledge. And I think that kind of hurts some of the D5 and D4 players because the knowledge dump is just too much for them. So I think a D4 needs a D2 player, probably, or a really strong D3 player to coach them. D5, I think you can get away with a D3 player coaching them because they've been around long enough. And D5 is just about like herding cats, essentially. But yeah, I mean, and the higher you go up, obviously you need the IQ there, But it was really great having someone in the pits that, challenges my thinking, even though I'm so hard headed and I'll argue anything. But if he was able to like, hey, explain stuff so well that all I could say was like, you're right. Yeah, I'll shut up and, go do my job, which was very nice because I got to actually play paintball instead of be a calculator the whole entire time and then get to play paintball while I'm out there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's also nice, like with myself having been in that same situation a lot, having to step into a player coach role. Like that's how we do it with the Texas Titans. We don't have a coach. We kind of have between myself, Dylan Strickland, like figuring out, hey, this is what's going on the field. We've done our field walks to know, okay, this spot can shoot and counter this thing that they're doing on the break, or hey, this is the hole that's in their coverages. But it is very nice, like during those events where we have had a coach or had someone in that role to be able to do all of those things, where you can just like really focus on the fine-tuning details of how you are going to do your job on the field. And it is it is well worth the asking price for anybody who is like just thinking about it or wondering like, am I really going to get that much out of paying all of this money for that extra body or for someone as experienced, like, oh, like Corey, for example, right? He's not local to you. And that comment on, he's for next year, you wanted to already establish the relationship and his knowledgeability of your players and their capabilities. It is well worth the cost.
I mean, absolutely. What I tell all my players is the most expensive paintball that you'll ever play is shooting that last ball. The last ball costs the most, right? And if I can do everything in my power to make it all the way to the end to first place, I've actually made that last ball very cheap. You know what I mean? Placing fourth is the most expensive paintball you'll probably ever play. You know what I mean? You almost made it there. You almost went all the way. But if hiring a coach, say, whatever amount of money it is, and you're able to allocate those winnings to help pay your coach, it just makes everything so much cheaper. And that's what we do. We allocate all our funds and it goes straight back to my team, straight back to the line, straight back to the coaches, just, to make everything cheaper for everybody.
Yeah, you're already spending a lot of money just to be there between entry, paint, hotel, flights in some cases, the practice beforehand.
Mhm.
What's adding that extra depending on obviously depending on the coach that you have could add extra 100,
Correct.
200, $500 a day. In the grand scheme of things, is a insurance for your results, and like that small extra bit of insurance is going to
Mhm.
pay dividends.
Correct. Correct. And if it doesn't pay dividends there, it probably means that you might need to, instead of bringing them out to coach you for the event, what if you brought them out for a practice? You know what I mean? That's what a lot of people don't think about. A lot of people post up, hey, looking for a coach for the event. What about practice? Get that coach out there for practice. And then that's when the knowledge really gets dumped. That's when really make your money with a coach, I feel.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Coaching just for the event is like they are just trying to make sure they can pull your best out of you, like to the top of your current playing ability. But if you have them at practice, then we can expand that playing ability. But you're not gonna be
Yeah.
playing out of your mind at an event. You're gonna be at best playing to the top of your potential. But if the top of your potential has been playing just a couple of points every Sunday, then your potential is probably not that high.
Correct.
All right.
100%.
So here in the chat, I'm just talking about y'all going to Dub C to play. Bondo says it's an entire culture shock over there too. The West Coast plays paintball very differently than Texas, and playing with Collision taught him a lot. I can confirm that. The thing that I noticed about California is that they do things a little bit differently, but one thing they are not afraid to do is go bunker someone to close. So just be ready for people to run at you, potentially giving their body away in doing so. But they are not scared to go try and take someone off the field.
Yeah, and I like it whenever you have that, mercenary attacker, going out there because coming from, the Texas paintball, which is zone paintball, which is locking up zones, you catch a lot of these other teams from other areas throwing their bodies away because they're not used to a team sitting on a zone the whole entire time. My guys are perfectly fine with sitting in a bunker burning 11 pods. I'm fine with it. But yes, they are a different breed, and I like that. And it's going to show my guys that, like, hey, just because we might be good with one type of, aspect of play, there's other ways to do things out here, and let's take a little bit of everything. And if we can grow as an organization because we saw why that guy traded out his body or threw away his body, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, we can learn from it, right? But yes, I do know that it is a different breed out there, and I've been warned multiple times that it is a different breed out there.
Yeah, for sure. And then here from the coaches show says Liam's story is all you need to know about Jacob's commitment and attitude about growing the sport. He's doing his part.
Yeah, I wish there was more people doing their part. As someone who's been around paintball for a long time, we have opportunities to do more, and we need to do more if we want to see this sport continue to grow.
For sure. So moving forward, this one is brought to us by Hydra. So looking to the future, you're getting ready to play Dub C this weekend, and then World Cup is only 3 weeks after that. So when the 2025 season is all said and done, will be some things that you look back on from this year?
Obviously, like I said, playing with my kid, you know, uh, you know, uh, bringing essentially two of our starters were D5, last year. So bringing them up to D4, and just the player growth is what I really like. I love player growth. All I care about is winning. So the easiest way to win is to grow your players and grow your team. So I mean, that's what I look back on and be like, hey, it was worth it. All the time, all the grind, it was worth it. And here's what we have to show for it. A bunch of trophies, series win. A couple $1,000s in our pocket at the end of the season. So I mean, that's what I look back at and think about, or will hopefully. Ask me, I guess, in 3 weeks. I guess, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then what are your goals as you enter 2026 with yourself potentially being ranked Division 2?
I haven't really thought about that, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, my goal is to grow this line, grow this team, grow this organization, and give my guys everything that I got. And that's me, learning, bumping that to like, hey, go play a couple D2 events. I can see what they are doing differently. Then that's what I'm going to try to do. If it means go play a couple semi-pro events, that's what I'm going to do. Anything that I can take back to my camp and to grow is what I'm going to do.
Love it. All right. So we're getting here toward the end of our show. Thank you, everybody that's put in questions to the chat. If you got any final things for Jacob, get them in now. So Jacob, this one's brought to us by Get That Shot. Message him on Facebook or Instagram if you're needing media coverage at the upcoming NXL World Cup. Is there anybody in paintball? It could be a team, a player, a community member, a brand, like anything at all that you believe deserves more recognition for what they're doing?
And I'm going to say Walker with Carbon, because of how well he takes care of us. Um, and the fact that I can, you know, he's a real people. You can call him, you can talk to him, you can, if you have an idea, you can shoot it off of them and they'll tell you if you're crazy or not, or hey, let's run with it, let's roll with it. But he was there at USXBL. He was there helping out in our pits. We didn't ask for him to do that. We didn't know he was going to be there. But as soon as he's like, oh, hey, you guys are my homies, let me come help you guys out. And then, we tore up some gear, this last event, and we were like, hey, we need XYZ for Dub C. How do we get it? And he drop shipped it to our Airbnb. So it's going to be at our Airbnb tomorrow. And I don't know but I personally don't know that many sponsors that are going to go above and beyond to make sure that some D4 line is taken care of to that level. And the fact that he called me and talked to me about the 75-day hard. We've talked about the fact that he, his kids or his kid and everything else like that, and being, a dad and all that other stuff, and what he does for other teams. I can't say enough about Walker. He's just a great dude.
All right. Yeah. Shout out to Walker over at Carbon Paintball. So that I believe just about does it. I'm just going to scroll the chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, that looks like everything. So, Jacob, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations again from this past weekend. Good luck this upcoming weekend at Dub C. Do you have any final shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
So I would like to give a personal shout out to, everybody's pit crew. These teams cannot do it without you. I want to give a shout out to every spouse and every kid that, lets their, mom, dad, brother, sister go out and play paintball every freaking weekend or every other weekend. Like, there's so many worse things that someone can get involved in and, not be at home. But this one is a great one. You go, you shoot each other, you get out a little bit of stress, but you also get to, bond with other people that are of different walks of life. Yeah, shout out to them. And then, like, also the cold-blooded guys. I know that you said that I played with them a little bit, but they're probably my best team for next year in D4. I would be very mindful of those guys. They came out swinging this last event, but they're putting in the time. They're putting in the grind. I really, really like those guys. But yeah, that's basically all my shout-outs. In my local field, I guess, Epic Paintball Park in Oklahoma. But yeah, I mean, that's, as far as I know, is who I need to shout out.
All righty.
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
one more. I'll shout out Todd Boyer with the All Stars. Because I do play with that line personally. By going up there to the complex. I don't know if you guys have ever been up there and played on that turf. If you haven't, you need to. Every team needs to go out there at least once and just see what. I mean, that's a strong organization with their semi-pro team, their D3, bunch of D4 lines, bunch of D5 lines. but he's doing a solid thing out there, and he's good at teaching you some lessons on the field.
All right. Yeah. Shout out to Todd. And shout out to KC Missouri All Stars and the KC Sports Complex. So I think that does it for our show. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to go follow Jacob at jacob.miller07 on Instagram. What other guests would you all like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button. The show goes live Wednesday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Central here on youtube.com/at Major League Paintball. And recordings are posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify the next day. Shout out to my partner and sponsor tier subscribers on Patreon: Get That Shot, Paintball Comité, BEMRAPS, Hydra, XTPL Events, Mariachi Aguilas de Oro, San Antonio 3v3 Series, 71 Designs, TexanHemp.com, and the Splat Zone Trinity 3-Man. Lastly, thank you to Major League Paintball for hosting the show. I do want to give one extra special shout out here to my teammate, Will Weems. Some of y'all may have heard about him on Saturday. So he was guessing with me over on PB Gateway. He ended up having a heart attack in the middle of our second game against Grit. And he's not called the bad guy for nothing, but this dude played through 3.5 matches while undergoing a heart attack and just toughed it out. And then, checked himself into the hospital Saturday night and then tried to leave the hospital to come play with us in playoffs on Sunday. And so I just wanted to give a special shout out to my friend, Will. He has since had a stent inserted. He is fully recovered. He has been discharged from the hospital Monday, and he's already back to playing again. So, just wanted to let you all know that Will is doing great now. Made sure everybody know that, and just, shout out to Will. So I think that does it. We will see you guys next week for episode 164. Jacob, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.